Good evening. On Tuesday, March the 4th, Stillwater voters will go to the polls to vote in the primary election for Stillwater City Council Seat 4. If no candidate receives a majority of the vote, the top two candidates will be in the runoff in the general election on April the 1st. In preparation for this election, the Stillwater League of Women Voters are pleased to present this evening's Candidates Forum. I'm tonight's moderator, Gladys Allred, with the Stillwater League of Women Voters. And this evening, we will be hearing from candidates for Seat 4, Stillwater City Council. Before I describe the format and the rules, I will introduce the candidates. They are Jim Gardner, Miguel Nahara, and Cody Scott. To begin the forum, each speaker will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. We will ask questions prepared by the Stillwater League of Women Voters and by members of you, the audience. Only written questions will be accepted. If you have a question, raise your hand and a league member will give you a paper and pencil to write your question. And questions will be screened by the league members for duplication only. Questions should address the issues. No personal criticism will be accepted. And all candidates may respond to each question. Answers will be limited to 90 seconds, and you will receive a card will be lifted for when you have 1 minute left, when you have 30 seconds left, and then when they hold up the stop sign, you must stop. Okay. The candidates have drawn for the opening position. So first, we will hear from Miguel Nahara.
Perfect. Can I go? All right, perfect. Well, good evening. I'd like to thank the Stillwater League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. A little about myself. My name is Miguel Nahara. I've been a Stillwater resident for about 7 years now. My wife Lauren and I got married in May of 2013. My wife Lauren is a graduate student at Oklahoma Baptist University studying marriage and family therapy. Myself, I am employed at Oklahoma Farm Bureau Insurance Company. I'm a property and casualty adjuster. Through my career, I've learned that tough decisions are not easy, but have to be made. And I feel like I'm poised to make those decisions. A little about my background. When I was 14 years old, my mother passed away after battling multiple sclerosis. I was raised by a single mother, so at that point in my life, I realized that life wasn't going to be easy, and there was going to be a lot of things I would have to work for, and anything I wanted, I would have to work for. For several years, I moved around, and then at the age of 17, I finally found a forever family. The head of that family was Senator David Myers. Some of you may know him. He passed away in 2011, but he instilled in me the political dreams I have today, and I learned from him what it was like to make tough decisions and what it was like to be an honest politician. I think a lot of times, this day and age, there's no trust when it comes to the people you elect. And there's people, I know I watch the news every day, I listen to the radio, and there's people none of us trust. And I want to instill that trust in the citizens of Stillwater, and that's why I'm running for City Council. And I'd ask for your vote on March 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will hear from Cody Scott.
Good evening. I want to kind of echo a little bit of what Miguel said. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting our forum. A brief introduction. Ladies of the forum, guests, members of the media. My name is Cody Scott. I've had the privilege of serving the last 3 years on City Council. It has certainly not been an easy experience. It has been a very unique one. It is one I'm proud of. And after a lot of prayer and a lot of soul searching, I decided to run again. I really appreciate Mr. Nahara's words about trust, trust in the people that we elect. It is something that I have worked hard to keep. Opening comments is always a hard thing for me because the issues are so dynamic. It's not necessarily about what I'm concerned about so much as I'm concerned about what you guys have to say. And I guess opening statements, I'm man enough to say I am scared to death right now, so I apologize. But I appreciate having the opportunity to sit up here and representing the people. I feel that It has been an honor for me. It's standing up for neighborhoods and making decisions that affect the smallest person. That's something that I'm proud of, and it's something that I would like to continue to do if elected next Tuesday. So I too ask for your vote, and if I can be of service, you've only but to ask.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott, and now we will hear from Jim Gardner.
Hi, my name is Jim Gardner. Thanks again to the Stillwater League of Women Voters for having this forum. I think it's a valuable tool for introducing ourselves to the community. I'm fairly new to the community. I moved here in September of 2012 from Houston, Texas. And I did graduate from Oklahoma State University back in '94. I had been there before, but didn't do quite so well when I was younger. Made some foolish decisions, but you know, you make some decisions and make some mistakes and you learn from them. Having not been in the community very long, I'm probably not right on top of all the issues that will affect some of the longtime residents. I do care about the community, and I want to see it prosper, and I want to be a part of furthering that prosperity if I can. So I want to be a part of the city council to try and steer the community in a way that can help the average citizen to prosper as well as the city. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we will start with around a 45-minute segment of questions prepared by the League of Women Voters and you, the audience. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to the questions, and we will rotate responses, beginning with Mr. Gardner.
Okay.
The first question is, if elected, what will be your principal priority, and how do you propose that the city pay for it? What's your principal priority?
Again, since I'm fairly new to the community, I'm not sure what some of the major issues are. I know that the people that I've talked to are concerned about the state of the roads in the city. They're concerned about water and sewage and those type of services. I know that those services are taken care of and by the city, but there's certainly room for improvement in making sure that those things are taken care of. The city, we're seeing some growth, and I think it's important to make sure that we don't outgrow the services that are needed for the people. There's a lot of areas that are seeing some degrading of services. I think maybe because I don't think we're growing too fast, but I think we need to maybe take a step back and look at some of the services and some of the things like roads that need to be taken care of before we start building further and further out and higher up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Miguel, the same question. What will be your principal priority if you're elected, and how will the city pay for it?
Well, I think water, sewer, and infrastructure is going to be a top priority no matter what, whether we want to make it or not. So I think that would be an easy answer. But I'm going to say one thing I would like to see improved is the quality of life in Stillwater. I think if you watch council meetings or you listen to citizens a lot, they want to see improvements in our parks, improvements in our tennis courts, and just overall improvements that bring people to Stillwater and want to make people stay in Stillwater. I graduated from OSU, and my wife and I decided to stay in Stillwater because we love the community. There's a lot of things for young adults to do, but I think we could do better with different age groups, and I think we can do better at bringing families. And I think one of the things, or one of the keys, would be partnership. I think there's a lot of businesses in Stillwater, and we also have a major university. I think we could find ways to partnership and put different names on things to draw more people to Stillwater and make people want to stay in Stillwater, just like my wife and I did, and just like many of you did.
Okay, thank you. Cody? Same question.
Well, what will my principal concern be, and how will we pay for it? 3 years sitting on this council, principal priority is the entire scope of work that encompasses this office. There is absolutely no way that I can pick or choose any one particular issue over the other. I think that maybe that happened a little bit in the past, which might have advance some of these issues into the state that they are now. So to address what my principal concern is, my principal concern, we have a pavement management study that's going into place. We have a traffic study. We have issues in the southwest water pool. All these things are going to have to be addressed. So I think I would say my principal priority are the ones that I'm hearing the most about right now. Water in the southwest, the quality of the roads here in the center part of Stillwater, quality of life, obviously is some of that. How are we going to pay for it? We can pick our principles like we're picking apples, or we can pick our principles, we can pick our issues like we're picking apples. How are we going to pay for it is simple. The people of Stillwater said no more new taxes. I have to respect that. That's a decision the people made. So what we have to do is be smarter with what we have, look at our budget really hard, and then decide if there are things we can do to make improvements based on what we have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, the second question, and we will start with Miguel. Do we need a new fire station? And if so, where should it be located?
Well, I think, I don't know definite, but I haven't heard a lot of big concern about a new fire station. I know that was on the bond issue of building a new fire station, but I haven't seen a lot of people saying my house burned down because the fire department wasn't able to get there in time, and I haven't heard people say that the response time was super slow or that these buildings are falling apart. My answer is not at this time that I've seen, but that doesn't mean that's the 100% correct answer. And I think the biggest thing is that I'm willing to learn, and if someone presents otherwise, then obviously opinions can change. And so my short answer is no, I don't think so, because I haven't seen the need or desire or issues with it right now.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Frankly, I just don't know. I'd probably be hard pressed to tell you all of the locations of fire stations in the city right now. I know where a couple are, but to be quite honest with you, I don't know what the need is, and that's one of those things that I'll have to educate myself on and determine, kind of help myself in my mind figure out response times and travel time between station and localities that might need their services.
Okay. Cody?
Do we need a new fire station? If we were to pick a place for a new fire station, it would have to be out on West 19th. If I were to say, do we need one? I believe we do. I believe it would increase our response time to more of our rural customers to the west and southwest of Stillwater. But I'm always someone that always errs on the side of caution. It goes back to kind of the previous statement before, how do we pay for it? If we're smarter with what we have, I believe we could pay for it. Is it something that's essential right now? Let me ask you a question. A young couple starts out, builds a house. Do you build a house with one bedroom, or do you build a house with two, anticipating a child? I am someone that believes that if we're smart now, we cannot run into issues at a later time. But again, that young couple starting out has to make that decision. Do I buy a two-bedroom house now anticipating children, or do I buy a one-bedroom house now and save and buy one at a later time? And that's really kind of the question before us right now. Do we need another fire station? I believe we do, very much so. But the question is, can we afford one? I don't think we're in any danger, but I think it's something we really need to look at moving into the future.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, question number 3. This is deals with economic development. Yeah, we'll start.
I just went first, but I can start again if you
Okay,
want.
yeah,
I thought we were
okay,
rotating.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, okay.
We will. I'm trying to read the question. The division of responsibility between the county and the local governments is sometimes not always clear. What level of government is responsible for economic development? That's the question. If the city council is, then what type of actions and incentives would you use?
Wow, that's a load. Okay. So I got half
sorry.
of that. I'll go. I think the city of Stillwater is doing a good job. I think they should be in charge of the economic development in our community. I think there's a downtown economic development, and I think they're doing a great job. I think one thing we've seen recently is tax incentives. I think the smaller tax incentives are a good idea. I know recently they on the council passed I think one for $15,000 and one for $30,000, and those are businesses that may not have came to Stillwater, and their business. One of them is a business that's thriving in 2 other communities, and one is just a starter-up business. So I think that that's something we could definitely keep looking at and evaluating. I think every situation is going to be different. There's no yes answer for every situation that comes about, and I think that kind of goes back to just making Stillwater appeal to people that want to bring businesses here, and we need to make sure as a community and as a council we're doing everything we can to make people call Stillwater a destination. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cody, do you want me to repeat the question, or you got it?
Just basically, if I'm understanding the question, who should be responsible for economic development? I think it's kind of a 2-part question. Who should be responsible, and what should we do to bring them to Stillwater? Great example is ASCO. That was a combination of the Chamber of Commerce, the state legislature, the city council, help from the county. So it was really all of the government entities from the state level all the way to the local level working together. And I think that's very appropriate for that kind of incentive. In terms of incentives in the bid, like what you had just described, Mr. Miguel, or Mr. Nahira, I'm sorry, I said Miguel.
It's all right. It's all right.
Ones in the bid, like here in downtown, I think they're very appropriate because we look at their business plans very closely. It kind of keeps Stillwater-owned businesses in downtown Stillwater, which is something I think is great. But I don't think we've quite got the mark on bigger retail businesses in the rest of kind of Stillwater at large. I think that's something we're going to have to look at real close, and I think we need to bring some kind of standardization to it for 2 reasons. One, the council knows what to expect, the people knows what to expect, but more importantly, retailers coming in to open businesses know what to expect. I think it would help with the branding, I think it would help with the marketing, and I think it'd just be overall a better policy. I don't think we've quite got it figured out yet.
Okay, thank you very much. Jim?
Okay, I think I understand the question. I think that the city ought to be the driver for economic development in the city. However, you have to realize that we're part of Payne County, and Payne County does have an interest in the economic development of the county. And so they're going to have an interest, and certainly will play a role. And of course, the state will play a role to some degree too in certain instances. But I think that the driving force should be the city of Stillwater. Some of the incentives that bring businesses in that were mentioned before, I think are good. Tax incentives are a good way to bring in businesses. And I know that I'm a great believer in market forces. I believe that as we generate a need for services and businesses to be here, that we will see some of the new businesses, and we ought to do what we can to incentivize other businesses like ASCO to come into town and bring with them the jobs and their industry here. So I think like I said, I think it will not only just be the city, but the county will take an interest, but the city ought to be the driving force.
Okay, thank you. And now for question number 4, and this time we will start with you, Jim. Okay. What do you think we should do to enhance recreational opportunities for youth?
Well, I think we've got some great facilities in the city, and I think that I've seen some different things being done, and I don't know always who's behind them, but I've seen things like a daughter-father dance and things like that that are great. Of course, we have sports teams and things that are great activities. I am a great believer in trying to provide recreational activities for youth. I'm not sure. I think the city should play a role in encouraging such activities, but I'm not sure that the onus should fall on the city for providing those things. There's a lot of things that our local churches and schools and community organizations can do to help provide and encourage youth activities, and I think those are valuable resources that should be taken advantage of.
Okay, thank you. Miguel?
Well, if you've heard my radio ad, one of the things we noticed, and the Chamber released a study recently, and it was that Stillwater, or the community, has 4,000 acres of parkland within the community. I don't know if that encompasses how far out, but I'm guessing it's in a short range. So I think right there, that first off just put people outside. You know, kids, when I was a kid, I went outside and played. Why don't we try to enhance those parks? Down on 9th Street, I saw just yesterday, they were building a new park. They were installing new equipment. I think the Stillwater is doing a great job right now, and I know there's plans in different areas, and so I think we just need to keep building on that. One other thing, I have a great friend who has two middle school age kids. One's 9 and one's 13. I don't know if that's middle school, but somewhere around that age, whatever that would be. And they go to different towns to play sports. They don't stay here. I guess the traveling teams are better, or there's different facilities there. And so I think we need to try to figure out a way to keep those activities here. I'm not saying build a sports complex. I know everyone's probably going to freak out when I said that. But I think we need to figure out a way to keep them here without spending millions and millions of dollars of building new facilities. I think we have them right now already. We just have to figure out a way to enhance them.
Okay, thank you. Cody?
Well, how do we enhance recreational opportunities for youth? I think it's two parts. On the one part, public and private partnerships. We've seen good things with that already. Something that I had the opportunity to address SGA about this last night, and I'll be visiting with Ann Kane in the coming weeks, assuming I'm elected on Tuesday. Basically looking at and seeing what are the needs in the community. We have great parks. I don't think the citizens want to build a new rec center, so I guess the question is, how do we do better with what we already have? And I think that's something that I'm going to echo a whole lot. Is it the public's responsibility to take care of that? Is it the city's responsibility to take care of that? What is that good balance? I think the schools could get involved. I think we could get some very good feedback from them. So maybe there's an element that we're missing. So I think, how do we improve it? I think we need just a little bit more dialogue to see what that direction should be. I would love to see it, but I would want to see a plan and who all's involved before we really started driving that direction. Because having something for kids to do after hours is important, but something as dynamic as that, we need a pretty solid plan before we move forward with that.
Okay, thank you. Question number 5, and we will start with Cody. And this question is, historically, there has been little contact between city leaders and county government. What plans could you create to make more city-county projects?
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of that already. I'll go back again to a little bit with ASCO Aerospace. There was a lot of cooperation between county government and city government. Some of the stuff that we're seeing, they're helping us out with the planning and the acquisition of land for the expansion of 6th Street and Perkins. They're assisting us with that. Tragedy, of course, last year with the fires. I'm finding there's a lot better discussion about resources. We're sharing information on a strategic level, much more than we ever have been. And so how should we develop that? I would very much like to see how they manage their highways, how they manage their roads, and maybe apply some of that to the city of Stillwater. And basically just look at their system, because they have a much bigger area to maintain than we do. I'm sure they have some secrets some tricks of the trade they can teach us. And the other thing that I was kind of kicking around too was kind of going back to youth and kind of building off that. I think they would make a very good partner on that too, because a lot of the kids, or some of the kids in and about Stillwater, come into Stillwater to shop or to hang out with their friends, and let's work with them and get them on board for youth projects as well.
Okay. Jim?
Okay. I don't know what kind of communication is going on right now between the city and the county. There ought to be some dialogue taking place. If there's not, there ought to be some discussions on what Stillwater's goals and plans for the future are, and there should be some discussions on what the county has in mind for the future and what their goals are. And we ought to see where those goals line up and work together to accomplish goals that are that both parties can benefit from. There may be some new goals that arise from the discussions that that both of us, the city and the county, can look at and say this is something that would be a benefit to all. So if there aren't some discussions going on, there should be. And if I'm elected, then that's one of the things that I would probably pursue, whether it's through the council or calling up somebody at the county level and going down and talk to them myself if that needed to happen. But certainly some dialogue ought to be taking place.
Okay, thank you. Miguel?
I think, just to echo what they said, I think communication's key. I don't think there's an elected leader in Stillwater or in Payne County that doesn't want to make Stillwater and Payne County the best in the state. I think we all have a purpose and a goal, and that's to serve our city and to serve our county. The county officials, from what I've seen, and I've only had a couple dealings with them, but I picked up the phone and I called some rural water people just to talk with them and ask them what was going on, get more input, because I don't know everything and I want to learn. And they were super nice, super informative. They spent time talking to me and spent time understanding my questions and helping me understand better the situation. So I know they want a relationship and I know they want to work. I just think we need to make sure that our communication on both ends is working properly and we're doing everything we can to just make Stillwater a place to call home and a place that strives and succeeds, not just at a city level, but at a county level as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the sixth question. This is, okay, and Miguel, we'll start with you.
Okay.
What should the city do with Couch Park now that Hamilton Field has been demolished?
Okay. All right. I don't know, to be honest. I guess we could look at what people want to see put there. That's where our public input can come in. We want to see what the people that live around that area want to see. I know there's probably a lot of people that would jump on the opportunity to put something there, and so I think we would just have to get some public input. I, for one, don't know anything that I would personally pick up and put right there right now, but I'm sure there's someone in the city that has an idea, and I think as a council, if elected, I'd be willing to listen to anyone that brought something forward to what their idea was to put there. And I don't live around Couch Park, so I don't know what the best thing for that area is, but I bet there is someone around that would.
Okay, very good. Cody, I guess you're next in this rotation.
What to do with Couch Park? Not one person has said anything to me about it other than, hey, what happened to the football field? Right now, our good friends from Langston, our goat squad has been, or at one time was keeping the weeds down. So I guess for right now, it's making very effective goat food. And at this time, there are no plans right now at this time to really do a whole lot with it. I haven't heard anything personally. I don't know if the mayor or anybody has, but I haven't heard anything. And most of my ideas, I'm just happy with the goats there. We probably just let them stay there for now until someone comes up with a better idea.
Okay, Jim.
I need to borrow one of those little paddles, and I need to put a piece of paper. I don't know. I don't because unfortunately, and you've heard me say it before, I'm new to the community, so I'm still learning about different things. I don't know where Couch Park is. You'd think that if there was a football field here and that it suddenly wasn't here any longer, that I would notice that kind of thing, or at least hear about it. But I don't have any idea where it is. Obviously, being put to no use is probably not the best use, but what the best use is, again, kind of going off of what Miguel said a moment ago, the people that are in the neighborhood surrounding that community, that park, probably have some ideas, and those are probably people that you'd want to discuss that with. But if it's a city property, then obviously the city's going to have some say, and there ought to be some discussions citywide and listen to all the residents on what they think should be done with that. And obviously, you're going to have some monetary constraints on what you can afford to do and what you'd like to do, but those are all things that can certainly be considered and visited.
Okay, thank you. This question involves water and utility rates. How do you feel about increasing water and utility rates? And we will start with Jim.
I'm against it. I know that water issues, there are a lot of water issues, and I know that there are concerns about that type of thing. But I don't know the relationship that the Stillwater Utilities Authority and the city share. I'm not overly familiar with that relationship. That's something that I'll need to educate myself further on. But they're running at they provide money to the city that maybe could be used for bettering the water systems or something. So I'm not sure that all of the resources that are available are being used to the best purposes. So that's something that I would certainly want to educate myself further on and hear some feedback from the citizens about. But other than that, I guess that's all I need to say right now. I don't know enough about it to talk real intelligently about it.
Okay, thank you. Miguel?
Can you read the question again?
How do you feel about voting to increase water and utility rates?
Well, I don't think we have to vote on them. I called Dan Blankenship. He's the Stillwater Utilities Authority Director. Anyone can call him. I don't think he talked with me just because I was a candidate, but I called him to ask him about it because we got this question for the Stillwater News Press, and he said the rates are on an increase no matter what. It's not a voting. They have a plan in place, I guess, that if I'm understanding correctly, it increases at certain levels, and so I don't think as a council or in that position we'd be a trustee for the Stillwater Utilities Authority. I don't think it's going to be brought before us to vote, and so I don't think I would address the issue unless it was brought up. And I did ask, I know there's been an issue of a lot of people think there's backdoor taxes, as you call it, coming from the utility authority, and I asked him the percentage. He said about 20% of the funds from that go into the general fund. And I think to me it's simple. If we cut those, we cut services. He said it's about, I think, $13 million that went into that fund last year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of services we would have to cut. And honestly, when I look at my utility bill every month, I'm not concerned with it because I know as a citizen, I get to see these things happen in our community that are possible because of the little bit amount more I pay each month in my bills.
Okay, thank you. Cody?
Well, unfortunately, and it is something that the SUA trustees will have to vote on. We have to vote on water rate increases every year as per the Beck study. And it is the hardest question, one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked. I know my paycheck's not going up, my utility rate is, and I have to vote to increase those rates, or I don't. And if I vote no, not to increase those rates, we're not going to keep up with the growth of Stillwater. That's just the harsh reality. So, the Beck study, it's taken 3 years to understand it. I don't like it, but I don't see another option with it. If we're going to continue to grow and change and move into the future, it will take decisive leadership and hard decisions. And believe me, as a younger man, my birthday was yesterday. I turned 28. When I first came on the council, and I found out I get to vote for all these people to increase their water rates. I can't tell you the fear I experienced or the misgivings I have with it. But right now, being smarter with what we have, we've been doing that for 3 years, and I don't see another option but to increase those rates. Now, I think they're a fair increase, but I never like to vote to increase them at all. And I wish I had a better solution, but I don't see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and the next question deals with the debt limit. And we will be starting with you, Cody, this time. The Stillwater Public Works Authority requires that, let me see, any new debt over 10% of the reserve must be voted on by the citizens. In October of 2013, city staff proposed an amendment removing the 10% limit and allowing any limit of debt without a vote of the people. If this amendment comes up again, would you vote to remove the 10% limit?
Well, I think that, again, this is one of those very, very dynamic things. The way that the SUA indenture is written, a supermajority vote of the SUA trustees decide whether or not to amend the SUA agreement. That's the way that the people of Stillwater established it, and I had a serious issue with it. I don't think that the council should have been making that kind of decision, but that's the way that the people set it up in the first place. So again, like what we said with the Beck study and increasing water rates, we're at that crossroads again. Our debt service ratio is high enough, we could pay off the debt to take care of the majority of our water issues. We have a high enough debt service ratio to pay for it 4 times over. But the question goes back to, does the council need to make the decision to issue that kind of debt? Do we change that trust indenture? And it is a terrible, terrible decision to make. My heart's racing just thinking about it. But I don't see another option at this point. So the question is, would I support it? We're going to have these issues fixed. I can't see another issue, so I don't know that I have an option but to support it. Leave the supermajority decision still in the trust and try to move forward with the best intentions of the people. So for me, I don't know that I would have a choice but to support it in order to fix those issues. But changing the indenture, I apologize.
Okay, Miguel, your turn.
Yeah, I'd vote to support it. Like I said, I mean, I sat down with just various people who are involved in the water and the rural water and the lines, and I mean, just from talking with them, I mean, as Cody said, I mean, it's something that has to be done, and you know, as a counselor, if elected, you got to make tough decisions, and you got to hope that those decisions are the decisions that the citizens will support and hopefully wanted to make. And I mean, my easy answer is yes. I mean, you're not always going to make everyone happy. That's not possible. Everyone has a different mindset and a different way of thought. But your goal, I think, as a counselor is to make the majority of the people you represent happy, and those that aren't happy, see what we can do to try to satisfy them in some way. So my answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Could you repeat the question? I hate to be a pain in the rear up here, but I'm not want to make sure I understand the question
It is
before I go
complicated.
in.
Okay. The Stillwater Public Works Authority requires that any new debt over 10% of the reserve must first be voted on by the citizens. In October of 2013, the city staff proposed an amendment removing the 10% limit and allowing any limit of debt without a vote of the people. If this amendment comes up again, would you vote to remove the 10% limit?
I would not. I think that all of us in our finances at home try and live within our means. It's not always possible. Some of us are living in debt. Things happen, but you have to, I think we've got to, with the city government and things like that, I'm not, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, this isn't saying that there can't be debt over 10%. It's just saying that it needs to be voted on by the people. So I think that anytime we're heading into, furthering our debt, that that's something that should be of concern of the citizens, and I think it ought to be something that ought to be taken to the citizens. So I don't think we ought to remove the 10% limit. as I said, I don't think that stops the furthering of debt. It just means that the people need to be informed and vote upon it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, the next question, and this time we'll start with you, Jim.
Okay.
Deals with roads. Divided roads, which are half city and half county, are unusual phenomena and are not easy to repair. A well-traveled example is 32nd Street. How would you suggest repairs be approved with this ownership, dual ownership? So.
Well, that's a good question. I think that, again, some communication and dialogue with the county is going to be vital in determining responsibility for taking care of the roads. Since there's some dual ownership going on there, then, you have an option of we take care of it and, basically assume ownership for all intents and purposes, or they take care of it and we yield ownership for all intents and purposes, or there's going to be a combining of resources to take care of it. And that's probably the answer that would best suit both parties. But that's definitely a dialogue that needs to take place. And whether that means that we repair it for a period of time and then they repair it for a like period of time, or whether every time there's a repair that needs to be done, we split the cost. Those are discussions that need to be had with the county to make sure that we are taking care of the roads and make sure that they're taken care of. We're taking care of our responsibilities toward it, but we also need to make sure that the county is taking care of their responsibilities toward the roads.
Okay, Cody.
Discussions right now are in the beginning stages to kind of look at that, and that goes back to what we had said earlier about a City of Stillwater County partnership. Those discussions are in their first steps. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of information to go off of because you're looking at two different sets of citizens. You're looking at citizens of Stillwater, you're looking at citizens of Payne County. And doing something that is a consistent management system, if we can take something that we have at the City of Stillwater and give it to the county or vice versa, then I think that would be the way to go. I think Mr. Gardner had some very good ideas. Do we do a joint project? Do we help maintain it together? I think that's all going to be dialogue for a future time. How do we do it? I think it all kind of begins like what Miguel did. Pick up the phone and call somebody, reach out and shake a hand. And you never know what good things can come from that.
Okay, Miguel.
Agree. I think it goes back to communication. I mean, we're not the only city that deals with the county. I mean, it happens all over the state, all over the country. There's cities inside counties, so it's not an unusual problem. I think there's obviously ways to do it because some counties have great roads and great systems in place. So I think we need to figure out the communication aspect, figure out if we're going wrong somewhere, what can we do to fix it? Partnership. I mean, we've got to function together. As I said earlier, and I'm going to say probably several times more tonight, our goal in Stillwater is to make Stillwater the best place in this state and a place that people want to call home. That's my goal. Stillwater is going to grow whether we like it or not, and so we need to be able to sustain it, be able to prepare for it, and hopefully just continue to become one of the best cities in the state.
Okay, thank you. This question is about water towers, and we're starting with you, Miguel. A recent editorial in the news press discussed the water tower at 56th and Western, built 5 years ago. There is no water in the tower, nor water lines to the facility. So what would you do to correct this situation, and what is your opinion about spending money on the structure with no, and I don't know what that word is, but on the structure?
Okay. And Cody might correct me on this, but I think the council actually voted the last meeting to pass or to get the money to get that project going, to get the lines in there. I think there's a little bit of holdup with some easements, but from my understanding of the last council meeting when I was listening, they talked about they're making progress on that and should be able to start putting those lines in. I believe this summer. Once again, he may correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I know it's coming quickly. And one of the issues that was brought up is what if the District 3 doesn't cooperate with us? Well, I think the issue was brought up, if they don't cooperate, they don't get water either. And so I think it's going to be a partnership. It's going to happen. I guess there was an issue on money in there, but I think it's been approved, so I don't know how big of an issue that would be. So I think it goes back to what Cody and I both agreed on was that, I mean, we're going to have to raise the limit on that, and we're going to have to figure out a way to do it. So I know there's plans in place. It's just it's going to start being a process, and it's going to start happening.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered that, so I apologize. It was kind of...
Well, thank you. Cody?
Well, I think the issue is twofold. I think the reality of it is, I think we've put not necessarily a Band-Aid, but we have put stitches on a growing issue. Problem is, it was a $1.5 million stitch. And we put a water pump in down there. We're going to use Rural Water District 3's pipes. And we're going to be good neighbors and get along. And that's just the reality of it. It kind of goes back to a little bit of what Miguel said. I make no misgivings about it. I really did not want to see this approved because I think it is a Band-Aid to some degree. It is a stitch to some degree, but there just isn't any option. We've got to do something to get water in that tower. So we made a hard decision. We voted to spend the money, and we're going to have to face this monster of an issue again of changing the SUA indenture and correcting the issue for good. So for me, water will be going into that tower. We will be helping to correct the issue. I don't like how we had to do it, but I don't think, kind of like with the trust indenture, I don't think we had a choice.
Okay. Jim?
I don't know. No. Obviously there was a need for the tower, or there was determined that there was a need for the tower when they put it in. You've got to really make sure that when you start putting in things like that, you've got to know what the path before you is going to yield before you start on that kind of thing. There was a lot of money put into this, and it's sitting out there without any water in it. I don't know all of the information about the issue, but you would think that some thought would have gone into the necessity of getting water there and what pipes you're going to use and whether you're going to have to cooperate with another district or not. You'd think that some of that discussion would have been had before the expenditure of building a tower. But we are where we are. We're not where we should have started in the beginning. So you're going to have to look at the problem of where we're sitting at right now and plan a path forward that takes into account all of the different constraints that you're under, whether that be monetary or dealing with another district, and do your best to find a path forward that suits the needs of the city of Stillwater.
Okay. The next question deals with a sin tax, and we'll start with you, Jim. A sin tax may be easier for taxpayers to swallow. What is your opinion on a penny alcohol tax to help pay for roads and safety?
Well, I'm not really a proponent of sin taxes, to tell you the truth. Typically, when you tax something, you get less of it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're talking about a sin tax, most people, the reason the word sin is used is because it's an undesirable thing for people to consume large quantities of alcohol. But at the same time, when you have a sin tax, typically you're going to have a decline in the use of products and services that some people find of value. And your revenue source is usually starts out higher than it ever will be again. It'll decline over time as use of those products and services are taxed. I'm just not a big proponent of sin taxes. It's not to say that I wouldn't be for targeted taxing. It's just that it would have to be something that I studied and heard a lot about from the citizens, and heard about what the reasons for it were.
Miguel?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm an insurance adjuster, so I deal a lot. I look at taxes all over the state. I work several counties, and then I deal with autos all over the state. And I can tell you, Stillwater has a pretty good tax rate already. We're pretty high in that range, and so before I made any decision on that, I definitely talked with as many citizens as I could. That issue hasn't come up to me since I've been discussing with citizens, so I don't feel that I can make a proper answer right at this second. And so, I think the easiest answer would be that I would definitely talk with the citizens and see what their input was. I don't think it's something we should target right away without doing any discussions and looking into it. And so, I would definitely want to research it a lot more and look at the issue and see what the citizens of Stillwater felt was needed.
Cody?
Well, I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Miguel. We got a pretty hefty tax bracket as it is, and going with a penny beer tax, I don't know that I would be up for swallowing that. I don't drink a lot of beer. I probably count on one hand how many I've had in my life. I don't drink a whole lot of it, but I have a lot of friends that do. I have actually explored this with citizens at the coffee shop. I've explored it with students on campus. Folks at the coffee shop say, absolutely, have the college students pay their share. The college students say that tax is unfairly levied against us. So I kind of met in the middle and I said, well, is a food and beverage tax across the whole city a little fair? Is it a little bit more fair? Is it a 1/4 penny sales tax? Is that the way to go with it? I think a 1 penny beer tax, it's good in idea, but I think it would be poor in application. Because like I said, is it really levied unjustly against the college students? I don't know. I know that's how they feel about it, but maybe the better bet is spread it across food and beverages across the city and make it a lot smaller so that it would take longer for us to feel it. And I think you would generate just as much revenue, and I think we could swallow it a lot easier. Bad pun.
Okay. Well, I think we're about out of time with questions, because we have closing statements.
That was a really bad pun.
Okay, so I think this completes our question and answer segment period of the forum. But each candidate will have 2 minutes to make closing remarks. And the candidate that responded last on opening was Jim Gardner.
So I got to go first. Okay. I decided to run for city council. It was kind of a strange situation. I was looking for an opportunity to serve the community better. And it was mentioned to me that there was an opening for council seat 4. I guess at that time you were still going through the decision-making process and hadn't come down and registered yet. So I decided to come down and register because I want to be a part of the community. I'm going to be a part of the community and serve a role regardless of the outcome of this election. So, I think I have some skills and some knowledge and experiences that would be of service to the city of Stillwater. I've certainly got the energy, and I've got the want to serve the city. But I will find a way to do that regardless of the outcome of this election. So I would ask you to, search your conscience, listen to what think about what you heard here today, and vote your conscience. Vote for the candidate of your choice. And if that's me, that's great. I'll do my best for you. And if it's not me, that's great. I'll support the person that's elected, and I'll do my best to serve the city in another fashion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the candidate that responded second on opening was Cody Scott.
My friends and colleagues, I know my parents are watching. That doesn't make it any easier. My friends, Tuesday and again in April, we are making a decision for the future of Stillwater. We all know how much the recession has hit us all. The council has had to make tough decisions. And not to diminish anything from the character or drive of either of these men, right now I have experience. I never thought I'd ever hear myself say that I have experience, unique as it has been. But it is, I have the experience, I'm up on the issues, and right now I chose to stay in the fight because I felt passionately that now was not the time to step away. Now's the time to stay in the fight and finish what I started. I think these are great guys, and I'm so appreciative that they wanted to step up and take this mantle. And gentlemen, I promise you, if you are elected now or some point in the future, if you don't sit in this chair and go, what in the world was I thinking? Come call me and shake my hand. My friends, I earnestly want to serve Stillwater another 3 years. I feel that I have the experience and the drive. I'm ready to do it again if you'll give me the opportunity. Please vote for me on Tuesday.
Okay, and the candidate that responded first on opening was Miguel Nahara.
Good.
Okay, and so you can,
Well, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited for this opportunity. As I said when I started, my life hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of struggle, a lot of tough times. Martha McMillan, a lot of you in this room obviously know her. She was my advisor my freshman year in college, and I had no idea that she was involved with this. But I'm so excited seeing her because I think that she has seen how much I've changed. As coming into a freshman, I was in the I don't remember what it was called. It was kind of like the not full admission, but you kind of had to prove yourself. And I proved myself. I think Cody Scott's done a great job, but experience, you can gain experience. I mean, anyone can be taught things. You can learn it. As I said, I've done my hardest to get up on the issues. You can't learn integrity. You can't learn honesty. You have to be responsible in everything you do. And I want you to know that if you elect me next Tuesday, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be active. I'm going to be engaging. I'm going to make sure that the citizens of Stillwater, when they see me in the news and the radio, that they're seeing the person that's serving their city with the respect and the integrity it deserves. I appreciate the time you let me share my views and opinions with you tonight, and I would love your vote to help Stillwater keep moving forward. Thank you.
well, thank you, candidates, and this concludes our candidates forum this evening, and I want to thank the candidates, Jim Gardner and Miguel Nahara and Cody Scott. And I'd like to thank the city of Stillwater for the facilities, and to let you know that this forum will be rebroadcast every day until the election at 2 p.m. on Channel 23. And don't forget to vote on March the 4th, and you can vote early tomorrow, Friday, that is February the 28th, at the Payne County Election Board. So if you don't know where to vote, or if you have any questions about voting, please contact the Payne County Election Board on the second floor of the county building on the corner of 6th and Duck in Stillwater, or phone 405-747-8350. And thank you, and good evening.